let me start. I do like this remix a lot. There's a good mix. The only thing that I heard that was same thing that noticed Robin as well instantly is that the kick is too loud, but not so much the low end of the kick. The middle part and the top kick are too loud.
Yeah.
And the low end is actually nice. So if you just lower that, or at least I think this is not possible anymore with this late at night remix, but in general, if you just lower the top kick and the mid kick, so it's a little bit more blend into the mix, I think you're good, because the rest of the mix sounded actually pretty cool. You had some timing issues in the breakdown. In the second breakdown, there were some timing issues. And I missed a little bit of brightness. But that was about it. In general, really good. Really good mix and a pretty dope drop.
Maybe get some high saturation in it, just to tackle the spark.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Bro,
I like it.
Yes.
Very sick.
Started sick. It started so sick. I was a little bit disappointed by the drop because I was like, "Ooh, he's gonna deliver so hard," because everything leading up to it was like, "Yes," and then the drop like kind of maybe. I was just expecting too much. Maybe it was me, but like...
No, I get the idea, but I think the thing what misses is like the build of, like everything is a bit too much. It needs some frequency balance when you go into like if you hear the small build popping into the drop, so there's energy lacking in the drop. So make sure that build is...
Yeah, that pre-chorus was so fucking
demanding. It's tight, and energetic, but... it feels like you're falling back in a verse instead of like falling into a drop. So I'm kind of missing the energy.
Somebody say it looks like the Dua Lipa song, "Break My Heart." I remember that song. But the one thing that he did different with Dua Lipa, "Break My Heart," Dua Lipa goes also very euphoric, and then her drop is has crazy vocal harmonics like that take the whole chorus like to a next level. And that's the big difference with this record. This record, he went instrumental in the drop, and he had no new surprise going on. You know, like if you listen to the Dua Lipa record, it's like very euphoric pre-chorus, and then once he goes chorus, it's like 10 layers of vocals that like really catch you.
I think mastering-wise, I think you did a bit too much compression on your master channel.
Yes, low end is lacking.
I think it's the mastering that squashes a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's like also those little fills like...
and there's like in the drop, everything has high end basically, and you don't have to push everything forward.
Pick the leader, pick the leaders.
Yeah, so like there's like a few like delays and all that, but and reverb tricks and all that, but they all really push out, like they're all saturated and compressed and push up front. But I think if you decide to just take out some highs of that and just maybe lower it down in volume, you will get a more dynamic feel to it. But the kick and the sub is a bit too much compressed. So if you go for like a I don't know, more dynamic low end, you can also make sure that you multi-band a little bit on your mastering and that you don't really squash that low end too much, because
I agree.
Yeah, maybe you can try that out, multi-band compression.
A lot of sounds are fighting with each other. So that's kind of the feedback that I want to give you.
Yeah, look at the key.
Just look at the key and see how like songs are fighting with each other. Sounds are fighting with each other. Because that's the thing with, if you're in scale, that trouble of sounds that fighting with each other goes away pretty fast. Because if you're in scale, like most of the time, synths help each other, sounds help each other instead of fighting with each other. And if they're off scale, then most of the time they're fighting with each other.
Yeah.
So if you find your scale and you stick to your scale or anything like that, then that whole trouble goes away. So maybe stick to being in scale, and then...
Yeah, and that's like the solution to a tight mix. Tune everything into your scale, or like in your root note, like percussions. Like let's say your song is in F or in E or F sharp, whatever. You just make sure that your percussion and all is in tune.
Yes.
That's the way to make it tight. And if you don't look at percussions to tune, then here's your feedback then.
Yes.
Because everything in tune is the way to get a tight mix. How do you feel about tuning your percussion to the perfect fifth? I feel like it adds a nice layer of depth, and that's really true. That's exactly what I did.
Sevenths, yeah.
That's exactly the kind of the secret behind Cobra. It's E minor scale, but I put things in like fifths and all that, so the harmonies blend together, and that's where your mind goes like, huh? What happens?
Feels like you're in a different scale, but you aren't.
No,
with Cobra it doesn't feel like you're in a different scale, but it feels like you're jumping between. Like that's something that I was really surprised with Cobra, is that when those percussions element hit, like I'm like, oh, E minor, and then oh fuck, I'm jumping between the scale, but like I'm not jumping to a different scale, but like it goes like has this cool roller coaster effect. It doesn't go pale.
No.
If you always to explain this answer of me, it's like you stick to E minor and then you go, every tune of every percussion goes to E, it's boring.
Yeah, but like if you have the first part of Cobra, for instance, if you hit the first chord of the A part, that's an E minor. But if you go to like the B part, it's an E major, and then it go back to E minor.
Yeah, so you jump between majors and minors.
So there's a difference, which makes the track so, I don't know, weird.
But in a cool way.
In a cool way, yeah.
Guys, look, this pretty cool trick from Logic. En everything is cut.
Distortion.
En wat ik wel cool vind, sometimes it's dope to do a reverb and then distortion.
After the, yeah.
After.
Uh-oh, I feel like a mew is coming up.
And then very, yeah, it needs to be. Actually,
like some breath on the clap.
Yeah.
And then very bit crushery.
Breath. Oh, yes. Yo.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool.
Hey again, guys. Tarek, what's up, man? Good you're back.
Woo!
Yes.
To improving mixing skills. So, any tips? Yes. Mixing is taste. So, as long as you, let's say, how X was talking, so you first need to know the rules before you break them. That's kind of how mixing works. So, if you are very good at making a clean mix, and that is like very plastic surgeon, then that means you know the rules. But then you can go outside of the rules and make it unique again by give it taste or all that other stuff. Or give it your own juice. So that's kind of how I worked. Like I first improved like how can I be as clean as possible and very pop minded, like how you should mix. And then after I understood how that worked, it was for me easier to create my own style of mixing. So that's also something that you would see in my 7, 8, 9, 10 pack. But yeah, that's kind of my tip to mixing. Mixing is first learning the rules, understanding how compressors work and all the other bullshit. And then if you fully know that and know how to use that to your advantage, then go experiment. Can you mix with headphones only? I know producers who can, but it is not easy. I'm telling you that, because headphones are very isolated, and if you mix an isolated compartment, so headphones, that's very tricky because you get tricked by certain things. So mixing low ends and all that stuff is to an extent possible in headphones, like how it sounds, but not so much the feeling of it. And to answer Googlex on his playable in clubs and especially the low end, only got headphones. Pooh, that's gonna be a hard one. Learning to read a multimeter or any meters, so you can see what the references are below 50 hertz. There's nothing wrong with A being, that's how it's called, A being a mix. So your version is A and somebody else's record is a B. If the client or you want to sound like your mixdown or your master sound like somebody else, that's actually impressive. There's nothing wrong with A being. Yeah, it sounds really cool. Actually, I'm actually searching now for a section after this where we go a little bit like kind of what I did with the Icona Sophie Tucker thing. Yeah, Robin is working it. Yes, I'm like, Robin is a little bit different in this, but I can't work at home. I can't work at home because when I'm home, I'm home. My mind is not yet working, and I have a little kid at my house and my wife. So when I'm home, there's no like it. When I was in lockdown, like the first lockdown we had here in when we had our first lockdown in our country, I had to work from home for like a month and a half or something like that because we didn't know what COVID was, of course, so we didn't know how dangerous it was. So I had to start working from home, and it was the hardest thing for me to do. It took me 2 weeks to actually get a kind of a routine going for me, because when I'm at the office or the studio, it's very easy for me. I'm just going in, my creative button goes on because my body recognizes that we are in the studio, and everything flows easily. And of course I know this room, how it sounds and all that stuff. But when I'm at home, like I see my kid running around, or at least not running yet because he can't walk yet, but I see my kid and all that bullshit. So yeah, too many distractions at home. And I need to be in a room, or at least I need to feel that I'm in a working space, you know, and I can't have that in my living room because I'm relaxing there as well. I think it's like, at least for me, it's important. Like not everybody has this, but I think it's very important to separate getting shit done mode and relaxing mode from each other. And that's kind of hard when you're working in your living room.
Like percussion.
Yes. So what Robin did there is transposing a crash, right? Or right?
Yeah.
Crash. Crash. So he's transposing a crash to -1. And the reason why is like, it probably, if we EQ a lot, it will work in +1, or at least in the normal key where it was. But it makes your life so much easier if you just transpose it to the scale where we are in right now. And so he doesn't have to EQ that much. My favorite part, asking Robin like, hey, how do we make this a little bit more commercial friendly? Because no, but this is so, like, people, if they listen to this, they're like, first thing they are like, oh, this is so not commercial. But this is, you make this commercial so easy. Like, just, there's a few, if you add a few elements, you're already commercial. It's just, right now it isn't. But if you add some poppy chords, there's a lot of solutions. But if you add some poppy chords or some really good lead that takes you away, or some super dope vocal, you're going commercial again. Yeah, you need vocals. Yeah, I agree. Still, L2 is my go-to over any compressor right now. mainly because of oversampling. Oversampling is legit like sick. But the DMG bundle, Limitless, is also very, very good. Just more like I trust L2 more.
Sometimes like sinus waves. If you use if you want to have like your sound tonal and clear, the solution most of the times is just like add a sine wave to it. So for instance now, it has a sound wave, but without it, feels a bit lost. More definition now.
And to get back to that whole, how did you learn so much and about technical stuff? Just like that's so easy to find right now. Like the basic stuff, like no clipping in channels and all that stuff. Like that's just stuff that you can read, kind of like in every audio engineer book. But what's going on in the chain, like from top to bottom, you can kind of experiment there. Just go crazy. Just don't stress. Like there's some small rules that we always kind of keep in the back of our heads. Favorite sport? Making music, because not really doing a lot of sports. And having my kid in my arms trains my fucking muscles like crazy. Dope. I think it's a good spot to leave us for next week.
Yeah.
And then make it then commercial and see how we can do some... because this is all... now it's very energetic. I think if we put some chords in there later on in the record and maybe a cool vocal, we're Gucci.
But why commercial?